All rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending, presented by Bodyguards, protection for a life worth living. Learn more at bodyguards.com. As we just mentioned, Pacific Women's Volleyball has forfeited their volleyball match this Thursday night, scheduled to be played at the Smithfield House at BYU. The University of the Pacific released the following statement, quote, "The volleyball team has decided to not play the November 10th game at Brigham Young University. The team expressed concerns following the reports of racist and hostile comments during an August 26th match. Pacific stands with our student athlete."
BYU responded with the following statement. The University of Pacific's decision to forfeit this week's women's volleyball match is unwarranted and deeply disappointing. Following the August 26th allegation, BYU conducted an extensive review and found no evidence to corroborate this allegation. As we have stated previously, BYU will not tolerate any conduct that would make a student-athlete feel unsafe in our athletic environments. It is unfortunate the Pacific would make a decision that perpetuates the very challenge we are working to heal in our polarized society. BYU continues to provide one of the best environments in college volleyball. The most storied programs in volleyball, both women's and men's, have competed for decades on our campus and expressed appreciation for their experience at BYU. We have hosted the NCAA Women's Tournament for the past 7 years in a row. We recognize the real challenge of racism in our society, and we reiterate our strong belief that the solution is to work together in addressing these issues and not to separate from one another. We regret that Pacific elected not to work with us in addressing their concerns.
We're not finished yet. BYU Associate Athletic Director for Communications John McBride told the Salt Lake Tribune, quote, "We offered multiple times to have in-person meetings with a variety of administrators and coaches to speak through concerns, whether in Stockton or Provo. We also offered to have our student athletes engage in conversation together. Pacific did not accept any of these offers," end quote. A lot of information to digest there, Jarom. What are your thoughts about Pacific's decision to forfeit the match in spite of BYU's efforts?
Yeah, and it's the strongest communication BYU's come out with, challenging Pacific on this. And I want to start by saying this. You're welcome to express yourself, and that makes what this part of what makes this country great is your ability to say, I don't like this, or I don't like that, right? Or I don't like this person or this thing, right? Yet, you don't have to agree with how others feel or the manner in which they do it, right? An investigation happened at BYU and found no evidence of what Rachel Richardson claimed happened on August 26th in Provo. To ignore the facts is to ignore reality. Pacific has chosen to sit in that space. In spite of the lack of evidence, BYU still changed protocols, including student section location, pregame code of conduct videos, pregame conversation weeks and months in advance with players, coaches, and administrators from all opponents that BYU plays. BYU has been conversing ahead of time with these people to make sure they feel like coming to Provo is safe. And they did this despite no evidence to verify the claims of August 26th. So what's BYU supposed to do about this? They investigated, they found no evidence, they still made protocol changes, they're still having conversation. Pacific has chosen to ignore some of these facts. Pacific wants to be seen here, but not to listen. So what real change are you hoping to create here? I respect the ability, again, to express yourself, to protest in a peaceful manner. This is what Pacific is choosing to do. BYU wanted to talk, Pacific did not. If you're so woke you don't want to chat about the issue, are you really affecting the desired change? BYU is an easy target in this, by the way, as a religious institution that is mostly white. These are facts. But the facts are BYU investigated, didn't find any evidence of that claim. And I've done volleyball for 16 years at BYU. I've talked to hundreds of opponent players and coaches who love coming to BYU. In fact, they say it's their favorite place to come play a match. So this is certainly disappointing from Pacific.
I would like to quote our good friend, Derwin Gray, who is a prominent black pastor in North Carolina and certainly a prominent figure within BYU circles. Not LDS, very strong Christian man, and a guy who wants to fix these type of issues. He is at the forefront. He said in the Salt Lake Tribune, upon hearing about South Carolina women's basketball doing something similar to what Pacific women's volleyball is doing, canceling their game against BYU. In fact, canceling a 2-game series with BYU. Mr. Gray said, quote, "Coach Staley's a phenomenal coach," referencing Dawn Staley, South Carolina's head coach. "I don't know what her thought process was, but if we did a deep dive into the racial epithets, nobody would be playing anybody. I think the way you deal with these issues is, why not come to BYU and do something in solidarity together? Talking about the importance of love and unity. I can't change you if I'm far away from you. So in that ilk, on that note from Derwin Gray, if Pacific really wants to impact the issue, come to BYU and talk through it. Let's work together in solidarity, in love and unity, to impact positive change. You can't do it if you stay home and just say, nah, we're not coming to play. You know what I hate about this? The athletes don't get to play. And collegiate athletes love to compete. Rachel Richardson herself said, I don't want to cancel BYU. She still wanted to play the matches. I don't want to cancel BYU. So why then are programs not directly involved with Rachel Richardson, with the person that this is all surrounded around? Why are they the ones that are saying, nah, we're not going to play? But they are canceling BYU when Rachel Richardson says, I didn't want to do that.
Their response is stronger than hers, which is interesting. I would recommend that both South Carolina and Pacific watch the Black 14 documentary and what those two groups have come together to do. There was an issue in the 60s, right, over this with the Black 14. Now what are they doing? They're affecting change for good in their communities with food.
100%.
With the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and these members who hated what BYU was doing at the time. But they have come together over love.
Yes.
On this topic.
Who is the unwilling party in this conversation? We want to impact change. We want to change things.
Yes. And frankly, South Carolina doing one thing and Don Staley is another. Pacific will not have as loud a voice in this conversation. They just won't.
Very, very interesting.
Okay, topic 2. Men's hoops got out alive last night with a 56 win versus Idaho State. They need some game-winning late moments like Spencer Johnson's 3 with 11 seconds left. Here is Spencer with Spencer.
We called the play. The play was actually for a backdoor. The guy read it really well, so I hit Foose, and I came back to get it, and I was like, look, I haven't shot a 3 all game. I've been working super hard, and I know when I shoot it, I'm going to make it. So it's just fortunate to go in, you know?
I love that he looked in the camera when he said that, which is awesome.
He's a man that's sure of himself.
Okay, it's game 1. Is it fair to overreact?
At this point, no, because there are 12 new members of an 18-player roster. I just feel like there are way too many moving parts. This is kind of what I was expecting from BYU. We said when we made our projections last week.
You were expecting a 4-point win?
Not specifically with Idaho State, but saying, like, there will be some head-scratchers where we're like, what in the world? Just because BYU's trying to figure out what they are as a team, who they are. And Mark Pope has told us. He has laid out the roadmap and said, this is going to be how it is this season. We're a work in progress. We're going to play with great energy. We're going to get up and down the floor. We're going to get after you defensively, which BYU did. They held Idaho State to 56 points. The offense, on the other hand, is the big question mark. Like, can BYU be better than turning the ball over 23 times and shooting on their home floor from the three-point line 3 for 16? Yeah, those are fair questions, but we need to see a trend before we really start to throw up the warning flag of, okay, this is what this team is. One game is way too little of a case study for us to be like, oh, BYU's going to be a terrible three-point shooting team. They're going to turn the ball over 20-plus times every game. They can't get things going on offense. And Dallin Hall is going to play significant minutes because Rudy Williams wasn't on his game. Like, it's just way too soon to overreact based on one game case study. Though, there are some concerns based on what Mark Pope has told us and then us seeing that manifested on the court in an actual game. So there are concerns, but I don't think it's time to be like, okay, this is exactly what BYU is going to be all season.
BYU almost lost a quad 4 in game 1.
Awful, right?
Woo, that was close.
Awful.
But luckily made a couple of plays at the end. Spencer Johnson, as we chronicled, makes the 3, gets the rebound, gets fouled, knocks down 2 free throws, and BYU wins by 4. Is it fair to overreact? Probably a little, just because it's like, oh, geez, Idaho State. But, yeah, game 1 of 31. Real test at San Diego State next week. Missouri State's no slouch. That was a quad 2 last year, I believe, on the road next Wednesday. And then the Bahamas are just around the corner in a couple of weeks where you're playing USA, who, by the way, lost to Sam Houston State last night. A lot of people lost some weird games like this. Luckily, BYU wasn't on that list. But, yes, like you mentioned, 23 turnovers, 3 of 16, only 60 points, tight game with Idaho State. Weird. Vegas said 23.5-point win. I don't know that Vegas understands who BYU is at the moment. I think that was...
we don't understand who BYU is right now.
Yeah, no. The good, like you mentioned, was 56 points allowed, 22 turnovers forced, right? Field goal percentage, 38%. Like, all that's great. If BYU makes 5 more shots at the rim, this isn't a deal.
At the rim?
At the rim, where they missed a lot of bunnies, okay? A lot of bunnies were missed last night. So, yeah, I'm not overreacting, but as Mark Pope told you last night, hey, it's a process. And he used the word fun, which I agree with you last night. That's not the word I would use. Here's what he said.
I'm super happy for my guys because we got to experience a lot. You know, we couldn't get any thrust. We were really, really stuck. We didn't have answers to get out of it. For the most part, with the exception of a couple few-minute runs, you know, kind of minute 19 to 16 in the second half, we really, really guarded, and we just kind of, you know, absorbed the frustration and kept fighting. And those guys kind of had hope, and we had a bunch of young guys step up and make plays, and some guys new to their role step up and make plays, and it's going to be an adventure all year long.
I think that pretty much sums it up. It's going to be an adventure all year long.
In terms of skill, I think BYU has skill, but I don't think they have like a second first-team all-conference player right now.
No, they're missing Alex Barcelo. BYU does not have an elite scorer, like a guy who you know is going to have the ball in his hands when BYU needs a bucket.
Yes.
Alex Barcelo is that guy forever. BYU's had one of those guys for the last 5 years.
In fact, most of the time, Spencer, BYU's had 2 of the top 10 players in the WCC. Right now, I think maybe BYU has 1 in Foose. Outside of Foose, I'm not sure, because Foose is going to put up a double-double in WCC play or close to it, and he'll be a first-team all-conference guy, I think. Yeah, is this a tourney team after game 1? Heck no. But it's a long season. We'll see what they do. I'm not expecting them to make the tourney. Obviously, you got to make the NIT at least at BYU. That's the standard. Yeah, they've got a lot to figure out right now. They got to shoot better. Like, we need Rudy Williams to be good enough to be in the game at the end. He wasn't. Dallin Hall played because he wasn't turning the ball over. He was guarding. Jackson Robinson's got to shoot better. 4 from 3. He was out there practicing in the post game. Got up a bunch of shots. Made most of them, by the way. And BYU's got to get that rotation figured out. They went 10 deep last night. A lot of that second unit played for a long time.
So of all the practices and exhibitions and now one game that I've seen of BYU, I can make a blanket statement. Here's what I think I know about BYU.
BYU will win the national title.
Here's what I think I know about BYU. 1, BYU has defensively upgraded. You're a better defensive team this year than they were last year.
I would like to avoid 2 fouls, 30-plus feet from the bucket.
Fair enough.
To create there were some weird mistakes there. Yep.
A defensive upgrade, okay? Second part of my blanket statement.
Deciding to guard.
Is BYU is without an elite scorer. This is a team without an elite scorer that is better defensively. That's what they are to me right now.
So are we going to see more games in the 60s?
Maybe. Maybe.
I hope not.
I hope not either. 3 for 16 from the three-point line, 23 turnovers on offense, 23 opportunities with no shot. They didn't get a shot off. What? That's wild.
And a lot of missed shots, obviously.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. All right.